Hateb. My name is Nasud Atum Hutep Imre Atumreye. I'm one of the student teachers of the master teacher Malachi Kobena York, also known as Pablo Badayun. We have a question and answer format where we ask questions and answers, and any questions, you can step up to the mic. Anybody? Let's go with the online question first before y'all get ready.
We started last week from the Chicago bookstore. They sent some questions.
Yeah.
They answered the first and the second one. They want to know, are the Enneads Riskian?
You said, are the Ennead Riskian?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
How so?
Because are African Americans Africans?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Meaning that one of the biggest debates we had dealing with the word semantics, right? Oh, I'm an African American, and then the first thing that African American will say is, I'm not African, but you are an African descendant.
In America.
By blood will make you African. But we know that you were raised and born here in America. The Enneads will be Riskian by their descendants or their ancestors, but they were also born and bred on this planet Earth also. That's why I say yes and no.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because they came from the Ogdogs, and the Ogdog came by way of the experiment when Atun took the DNA and placed it inside the Vulcan deity, right? From Meldeck. What a lot of people don't understand is the relationship between the native Riskians and the Meldecians. Because what happened is when Enki, who is actually half Anunnaki, half Draconian, the word Draconian means what?
Dragon.
Dragon, right? Because you got so many different species of reptilians, right? Like 27 species, if I'm not mistaken, in the book of Man from Planet Risk, right? They're all draconians, because they're all dragons.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Or reptoids or reptilians, you feel me?
Okay.
But what happened is, the way to pop word stuff up, because we're still using English, right? He had to say dragon race, serpent race, you feel me? The whisperer, the Kanaz, the Jan, the race of the Jan, the Merid, you feel me? So, even though you're talking about different species of reptilians, in order for Pop to not get you confused with the other ones, he gave them different titles. In the Ansar school, we know them as Jan, or the race of the Merid, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Then but then now, recently in some of the updates, now the master teacher is referring to some of the Anunnaki as draconians.
True.
You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. It was always been like that. But you had to read the books. It was always there in front of our face. We just never paid it no mind. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because the word Anunnaki is not a species. It's a title. Right. Meaning that, or anybody familiar with the TV show Deep Space Nine, Star Trek?
Tour? Yeah, I am.
Well, Captain Sisko, right? It's a star base where they have different Ferengis, Klingons, Romulans, and stuff like that. Those are different species of extraterrestrials on the star station. That will say Anunnaki. Okay. Now you see where I'm going at, right? And the ruler of that will be Anu on a spacecraft called Nibiru. So you have Zeta Reticulans, Morcavians, Shaggies, Syrians, Hindus, Aldebarans, Andromedans, and so on. That's a part of this federation dealing with this federation or this command. You feel me? Sure. Like you had the Ashtar command and you had the Marzak command. Sure. You know what I'm saying? All right. So these different federations have different commands. You feel me? Okay. So what happened is these different species are going by different titles. So when you say Anunnaki, people are thinking that Enki is half Riskian, half Draconian, which is true. But what type of Riskian? Because you go to Africa, in South Africa, you got Afrikaners, and you got native Africans in South Africa, right? Which is the Xhosa and the Zulu. All right. You hear me? But they say, the white Afrikaners. You hear me?
The Dutch.
Now, if you read the book Man from Planet Risk, I forgot what page it was on. It said that, I said it before, that there are native Riskians, right? Now, Anu and them are from Risk, but they're not native Riskians. They occupied a continent called Danakina, meaning that if he's the ruler of that continent, right, then he'll be the most high of his species. So when he writes his story in the Enuma Elish, the Epic of Gilgamesh, in the records of Batana and all that, right? That he will be the Most High, dealing with his command. You hear me?
Sure.
Then when you go to ancient Egypt, Pakator Akre will be the Most High of the Nadaru. When you go to India, Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva will be the Most High being, if I'm not mistaken, of the Hindu.
Their triad,
the three
yeah.
high gods.
Exactly. So in every culture, they had a Most High. So that's what the master teacher said. It depends on who's telling the story. See, when we was coming out of the religious schools of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, those books were plagiarized copies of ancient tablets that came out of the Book of the Dead and out of the ancient books that came out of Sumeria. You feel me?
The Gilgamesh epic.
So a lot of those books were spells that were created by other extraterrestrial beings to put you under a spell. Because you got to remember that when they cast a spell on us, they said a being was appointed over them named Tammuz, and there were 46 elders that worked with him. You hear me?
Sure.
So they plagiarized the Torah, but it had came out for another book called the Wu-nuwaup and stuff like that. You feel me? So that was their version of the spell. You feel me? So what happened is when you deal with these different species of draconians, now you're dealing with a being that has half Maganu, you hear me?
Sure.
Which we call the dragon race, or the positive, supposed called positive being. But one time it depends on whose perception looking at it. Okay, to me these guys are disagreeable, wicked and evil. But then to somebody else they are good and benevolent. You feel me?
Sure.
Because it depends on what they're doing for you.
At the time. Yeah.
See, the master teacher, when he breaks down agreeable and disagreeable, right? That's universal. But when you deal with good and evil, that's personal. Because if I'm a Christian, anything outside of Christianity will be wicked and bad.
Evil.
Exactly.
If I'm a Muslim, anything that doesn't go according to the laws of Islam will be wicked and bad. And the same thing with the Judaism, you hear me?
Sure.
So it's personal when it deals with your religion, but disagreeable and agreeable is universal. Because I can disagree with a person's nature doesn't mean that they're wicked and bad. It's just that I can't get along with you. Because your culture, you eat me. In my culture, we eat vegetables and we eat off the land. So I can't roll with you because you look at me as a sandwich. You feel what I'm saying?
Sure.
But I respect your ways. But I have my own ways, which is patarak. You hear me? The way. You hear me? And this is why when certain people come in and certain species come in, they overpower people's cultures with their cultures, and they don't respect people's ways. Then the inhabitants of these lands and stuff, you hear me? Then these inhabitants of these lands and stuff, they have conflict because now they're going against their natural nature. People always ask me, why do African Americans are acting so crazy and why these things are so bad? Because they're practicing something outside of their natural nature. You hear me? So when you're dealing with these different beings, like the Indians and all these, right? These are different beings, you hear me? That were created. And what happened is you had different species, right? So when Atum put the gene inside of the dolphin, right? They needed a physical body to survive on a water planet. Now these are beings that do not breathe in the water.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
That, I think that they, in one of the updates in Master mentioned the mermaids.
Yeah.
And how the Tammuz have it backwards.
Yeah.
They didn't come from the land into the water, it was the other way around.
Exactly. So this is the problem, right? When you hear the word mermaid, the first thing you see is a person with a fish body. But they got the mermaid concept from ancient Babylon and ancient Africa as Dagon. Half man, half fish. You can find it in the Dogon culture, but who came out of Egypt. And you can find it on the walls of ancient Egypt as the Octawat. You know what I'm saying? The beings that came out of the waters, right?
Sure.
Then you can find it in the Sumerian as Dagon, the half man, half fish, which is a disagreeable being that was, I mentally said, that came from the Nomos. You know what I mean?
True.
Now, if we watch the Disney version of a mermaid, we're gonna look at the mermaid, or Splash. You feel me?
Yeah.
But we talk about mermaid, we talk about an aquatic being that can breathe water. You feel me?
True.
So what happened is, these beings were not aquatic beings. They did not breathe in the water. They breathed air. They were a mammal type being. You know what I mean? They came off of risk, which is the native Riskians, right? When they came to this planet, they was like, look, this planet has what we need to prepare our planet, but we need to be able to be here to mine it. You hear me? So we had to create a space, a Earth suit to be able to survive in this environment. We all had to change the environment and do genetic manipulations in order for us to survive on this planet. And the beings that were living on this planet under the waters were the Meldekians. This is why it said that when Enki came to Earth, and it said the Spirit of the Lord came upon the face of the deep, the beings that were looking up at the Lord was these Meldekians that were already here on the planet. Okay. You hear me? Pop never said that the human beings were the first species on the planet. He said they were the first humans on the planet. You hear me?
True.
So what happened is Atum took the deity or the being that came off a melted called the dolphin, injected his DNA in it, and it transported it here to Earth, and it gave birth to that germ or that seed or the protozoa, that bacteria, and it germinated for billions of years until this being was able to evolve from out of the water into a mammal gene. You know what I'm saying? Because they put something inside the is that the 24th chromosome? If I'm not mistaken? The heart gene.
So the 20th.
It's on the 20th chromosome? You say, and they put it on it, and the day it was going to be a certain amount of time where this being was going to evolve into something else. And this is why you said in the update, they said they came from out of waters and lost their scales. You know what I'm saying? For the mixture with the different species. You hear me?
Sure, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So this being came out of the water. This is what they call an evolution. They didn't have to figure out why this being was able to evolve from an aquatic being onto land, because that's what's put in the side of the DNA. You hear me?
All right.
And this is why in ancient Egypt, they show you the Ogdal, which is a set of 8. 4 females, 4 males. The females represented by the frogs, the males represented by the serpents. You feel what I'm saying? And these are both, could be aquatic beings, you feel me? Or amphibians, or reptilians. Reptilians and amphibians, you feel me?
Yeah.
So the whole thing is that when they did that, this is how they was able to incarnate into this flesh and was able to survive here on this planet. We are the hybrids that evolved it millions of years from these beings, and that's why we able to here stand on dry land and talk the way we talk now. You feel what I'm saying?
Sure.
And this is what happened is whenever they go to any different planet, wherever that planet is, they will have to create genetic manipulations of their body to be able to fit the environment.
Okay.
If you look at, see what happened is a lot of people who don't study or who haven't traveled don't understand that when you go to different places in the world, the environment is not the same as America. Right now, if you were to travel like airline stewardess or captains, you'll realize that there are over 1,000 different environments on this planet alone that you have not even came in contact with. And you will have to be in tune with that environment in order for you to survive. Because if you're not in tune, you'll get sick and die. You know what I'm saying? So it's about respecting nature and actually learning the land. See what happened, one of the problems with the Caucasian, how you know he doesn't belong in the land is that every time you got a different being, right? You got a being here, being here, being here, being here. Each of these beings live in a different environment. Some in desert environments, some in tropical environments, some in cold environments, and so on, right? What happened is these beings live in these environments for so many generations.
They adapted.
They adapt to the environment. Do they actually become one with the environment? You hear me? Genetically. You hear me? And what happened is, over time, by them adapting, there's certain things you do not do in these environments that will get you killed.
Sure.
So they had to respect the environment, and by respecting the environment, they respected the nature of that environment, or that natural habitat. You hear me? But what happened is when you have a population, when people are eating off this land and you're germinating and populations get bigger and bigger, you start expanding. And once you start expanding, a cold climate will start expanding into another climate, which is desert. You hear me? And what happened is the people started coming into another environment with a different ideology of how they do things and how they cook things and how they prepare things. Does not work in a desert environment as in a cold environment. So the things you do there don't work in that environment. So when you come there, you'll actually destroy the ecology of the land because of your ways. So when the Caucasian came out of Europe into Africa and into America and tried to plant their plants and how they do agriculture according to them, they destroyed the soil in America in the 1930s and 20s because they didn't know anything about crop rotation.
Great
You
Dust Bowl.
cannot keep planting potatoes in the same soil year after year. The crop will become, what's that word? Desolate?
Desolate.
Exactly, you feel me? But because you're pulling all the natural nutrients of the earth out. That's why you're supposed to plant it, pull it off, and put a double type of crop in it because they'll put that nutrients back and then they'll take that nutrients out and you got to keep the crop rotation going. But as Africans, we already knew how to do this before we even came here to America. So when we came here to America, how come slaves were able to know how to farm if they'd never been here?
It's true.
You feel me? There's no way you go to foreign land, you already know how the land works because you was already here. That explains that question. Did I answer that question for you,
Yes,
brother?
very well. Okay, the other question you had was, I guess you answered that one. How did the Indians originate? You already explained that one.
Yeah, it is. A lot of people don't explain when the Indian is the Greek word for 9. What's the word for it in our language? Is shu. Tasu. But I know we say Camino for 8. But how we say Indian is the same way? Sajitu.
Subjectu.
Oh, subjectu. Okay, I got you. Subjectu, which is 9. You know what I'm saying? So those 9 idioms, which is Atum, I think it's Shu, Tefnut, Gabnut, Asar, Aset, Nebhat, Nebhat, Imsatak, and Har, which would be making 9, right?
So,
Those are descendants of the Ogdogs.
okay, they have another question. They want to know, how would one know if they're a descendant of the Ogdods or the Ennead? You could be a descendant of both, right?
You said what?
You want to know, they want to know, how would one know, or how would you know if you were a descendant of the Ogdods, Ogdoads, or the Enneads?
If it's called Patrak, the way. That's what the master teacher gave it to us because we are the descendants of those beings, right? And what happened is with our way, right? Whether you accept it, right? And that's what, by your accepting of the way, and it's become comfortable and natural to you, is how you know that. But some people can't follow the way because they might have more DNA from a different species that's more predominant. Some people just can't convert. That's why they said, can you reform the devil? No, you can't reform the devil. Meaning that when they say they reform them, not saying that I'm trying to change their nature, it's that your nature does not fit our nature. I can't convert a species, I can't make a dog do the things lions do. Because those are two different species. Because what happens is human beings are under this mythological universal human federation. We all are one because we're all human. And you can't do that because every human being are different species. And so, like I said before with the environments, you know what I'm saying? The environments were created by other extraterrestrials when they came into Earth so they could survive in these environments. A lot of people think that these environments were naturally created on planet Earth. No, they were manipulated. It's called the word terraforming.
Yeah.
Certain extraterrestrial beings came to certain parts of the planet Earth and started terraforming certain areas so they could survive in these, what could be equivalent to a biodome. You hear me?
Tua.
But they didn't have domes. But they would stay in this area and we'll just make sure we'll be able to eat off the land. This is why you have certain insects and certain animals that attack each other, you know what I'm saying? Because these different animals and species were imported here so these other beings could be able to eat what they need to eat. Just like if you're from the Caribbean island and you go to China, you're not gonna eat Chinese food forever. You're gonna like, no, I'm gonna need some jerk. I'm gonna need some curry, I'm gonna need this, I'm gonna need that, because I'm not gonna eat no MSG, and no dog and cat and all that other stuff they be cooking, you hear me? So I'm gonna need my food here in China. So you're like, where's your Jamaican restaurant at? Oh, we don't have one. Okay, I need to order me some food from somewhere. I'm not gonna eat that. So I'm gonna have to show y'all how to make some Caribbean food, because I'm not gonna eat your food because it's gonna make me sick. It's not an insult, it's just a natural thing. You know what I'm saying? So certain beings had to import their livestock or the different plants and stuff that they needed to survive on the certain areas that they terraform on this planet. You hear me? So when that terraforming different planets, you create a different species that mixed in with the Pataites. The Pataites were the beings that fuse in with the natural nature of the planet Earth himself. That's why Pop said nature of nature, because this being that had a different nature was transported here to Earth in the ocean, and it fused over 1 billion years with the ocean genetic or the biorhythm of the planet Earth, and the planet Earth grew it. You hear me?
Okay.
So we are the nature of nature beings that was created here on the planet Earth, right? You hear me?
Sure.
So now, every being that comes here will have to mix in with the being that was grown by the planet. This is why they always had to mix in with the Negroids. Because we give birth to all of them. That's why Pop was saying, all the races came from out of us. But the people said, how's that possible when these beings came from the start? Because they had to mix in with us here in order for them to create their avatar.
Because we were naturally grown here.
Exactly. This is why the ancient Egyptians will put aside Nebuchadnezzar, which you call sarcophagus, right?
Sure.
To preserve their DNA. You hear me? Because they knew there was going to come a time where all these species on planet Earth, there would be no more pure-blooded beings over a while. So we have to preserve the genes somehow. So when it comes time to resurrect these gods again, there will be pure-blooded beings. You feel me?
Sure.
That's why the master teacher said that if they found Ramesses, if they were to revive Ramesses right now, he would try to kill the white man that revived him. Because Ramesses were at war with these Caucasians back then.
That's right. Remember that.
Yeah, any other question?
This question they want to know, they said, are we considered Natharu also?
By blood.
I mean, because we're related to them?
Yes, and then it's going to become a point in time that you will be in their same position and you become an overseer over your genes. You'll be an authority to your son and daughter because you oversee how your child is grown and how they are raised. You feel me?
Sure. Okay, this is the last question from the Chicago bookstore.
Yeah.
They want to know if you could explain the difference between Pa'aktor Are and Panastaru.
He said Padataru?
Yeah.
All right. He said, repeat that one more time so I can get that. I gotta let it soak in. Huh?
No,
Yeah, Pa Akre. He said, where's the difference between Pa Akre and Pa Nataru?
Yeah.
Okay. If you read the book called Science of Creation, right? And the book called This Is How and Why, right? Pa Akre will be in Egyptian or the ancient Nubian doctrine, the highest form of existence, right? Well, the highest being in existence will be the sun. Pa Akre. We didn't worship the sun, but it was the force that we respected that created it. You feel me? So our creation comes from the sun itself because it was dark energy that gave birth to us, the conscious gas. You hear me? Which came out of the dark matter that all life came from, which is Pa Pa'ut. You hear me? Which is all is. You hear me? That's what we talked about. But what happened is because we're dealing with anthropomorphism on a lower level, you know what I'm saying? This is the only way we will understand what Pakator Akre is. Panataru are us who came out of dark energy and manifested as flesh and blood beings with melanin. You feel me? And this is the reason why it says the difference between a Natharu and Panator Akre is basically one and the same, but it's separate on the vibration level of the vibration. It's dark energy. What we are, were, was, and is before we manifested as an individual. But everything goes back into the all, and all is. You feel me? So we are that. But what happened is when we try to explain certain things to the Caucasian race, he couldn't understand it because he didn't understand Egyptian quantum physics. You hear me? On how we relate things. You feel me? So the Caucasians said, oh, that's what it means? Oh, so you're sun worshippers. You hear me? Because they couldn't understand the higher connection between us and the sun. Years ago, our master teacher said, you have a what in you? A sun in you. They call it the what? The solar what? Right? You breathe in what? Give off what? You light a match and it gives off what? Carbon, and it needs oxygen to stay lit. You breathe, you feel heat. You die, your body gets cold. You hear me? You drink a certain alcohol, your body heats up. You are that sun people. You feel me? Because you're not vibrating on the same frequency as creation like you used to, but you still are part of creation, but now you're vibrating at a slower rate. Because you got to understand that everything vibrates in the universe. And everything gets off a vibration, which create waves. And waves create frequencies, and frequencies create sound. You feel me? Everything came from out of that. We are that. You hear me? So what happened is, now that we're on a lower plane of existence, we look at everything in a physical manifestation. We see the sun because we see what the sun does for it. It grows crops, it keeps the planet warm, it does this, it does that. You feel me? It even gives energy, dealing with solar power, green energy. You feel me? So this is how we dealt with things like that. But what happened is when Picasso came in, he couldn't comprehend it. The way he interpreted it is according to his Norse gods of Zeus, Odin, Apollo. You feel me? So he associated with man, but the way we broke it down, we broke it through anthropomorphism, and we had certain beings who represented these principles. You feel me? But we never gave them a definition or an explanation of what these principles meant. Like if you turn right here to your right or your left, right, you see a woman named Nut, which represents the sky. And you got someone holding it up that's called Shu. You got the guy at the bottom called Gad, which is the earth. You will see that as three people. But that's called anthropomorphism, right? But if you look at it, you're really looking at creation. The sun, the night sky, the wind, and the earth. It's talking about, you feel me? But and you see the stars, is the blue sky and the stars at nighttime, you feel me? That's dealing with creation, but we never saw it that way because we never explained it to the Caucasian what it was, so he just ran with it. And when he finally figured it out, he didn't already ran and put out thousands of books on what he thought it was. Now that we get in this day and time when the master teachers give us more clarity and more clear vision of what the hieroglyphics and the picture graph or the pictures are saying, now they can't dispute it because we never gave it to you.
So they can't explain it?
No, because we never gave it to them. I'm gonna tell you something that's deep. Our master teacher been holding on this information for years. He knew that the Metu Neter, what's that, Metu Neter?
Yeah, Metu Neter.
Was off because when they created that language thousands of years ago, they created specifically to deceive the Caucasian race.
You mean the Rosetta?
And they purposely took the actual tablet and hid it and made sure they were able to find it. You hear me? So when they found it, they said, "Oh, this is how you translate the hieroglyphics. Yeah, we got something." And they ran with it. And then all your scholars start writing books on it and say, now we know what it's talking about. And try to be heavy and deep. Next you know, the age of Egyptology was born. You hear me? Then you had the black leaders who thought it was heavy too and start following the white Egyptologists, and now the age of the black Egyptology was born. You hear me? And then they start putting out their own books and translate the word metanet and all this and start giving their own translation. But we never gave them the proper tones. Because there was something that was sacred and protected. You feel me? So now in 2014, the master teacher, by way of Patarak and the actual fact, is revealing how the actual pictures is not the tones that we gave you. Because the actual picture itself means something different, and we never gave them the meaning to it. You took the pictures. It's like if I took this iPad and I associated it with a tone. I said the iPad represents ah. The microphone represents M. You now associate the hieroglyphics with a tone, but you don't know the definition for the hieroglyphic. That was a double meaning to it. So everybody ran with that. Now they're mad at the master teacher because now he's revealing what it really is. And a lot of cats spend their whole life translating these hieroglyphics, and it's not even what it is. And then when you see what the real meaning of it, the cats say, "Oh, I didn't even see that. I didn't know that was a tone." You hear me? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. This question is from a person named Bjorn Versace. He says, "Greetings, brethren. I would like to know why are the pyramids in Egypt built in the first place according to the master teacher's teachings, or in any other place for that matter?"
He said why they were built in the first place?
Why were they built in the first place?
Like I said earlier, what was the word we said earlier, right? When each extraterrestrial being came to this planet, they did a thing called what? Terraforming. Meaning that as it is on earth, as it is in earth, as it is in heaven. Meaning that if I come here, I got to bring my technology with me so I can survive here on this planet. These pyramids are nothing but ancient power plants. And this is how they tap into the earth magnetic grid to get power. You hear me?
Well, I remember that.
That's why if you know anybody from Egypt, they will tell you they see crafts flying through the sky all the time. And we ain't talking about airplanes. A lot of people say, UFOs. But 1992, when I was becoming an Ansar, I think it was 91, matter of fact, 91. And a brother came from Egypt, and he showed me some pictures. Now, I'm in the doctrine for the Islamic purposes, right? I'm not even looking at the extraterrestrial stuff, right? He showed me a whole bunch of pictures, and I'm looking like, what is that right there? It's like a disc in the sky flying. I said, what is that? He said, that's a spaceship. I said, spaceship? What you mean? He said, it's a UFO. I said, UFOs, those are not real. He said, you see the picture? I said, yeah, I see the picture, and I was like messed up because like you watch TV, you don't.
You think it's science fiction?
Exactly. So he showed me a picture, actual photographs, and I'm like, I didn't even know that's going on. Then when I moved to the community, then this is when Pop brung out all the extraterrestrials and monsters. Then you start getting to doctrine. Pop always talked about UFO doctrine from day one, because when you go inside the book, he always show you a ship in the background. People say, what is that? And people say, people don't even pay attention to the ship. All they look at is like the masjid and the thicker bees and the ship. They don't even see the spaceship in the background. And nobody even asked. As many times I was in class back in the day, nobody even asked the master teacher in the Ansar school, what's that ship in the background? You know what I'm saying? Until Pop had to say the Crystal City.
Yeah.
You remember that? You know what I'm saying? So it's the pyramids were created as power conductors to pull the energy out of planet Earth. And what happened is it was aligned with the lead lines on the magnetic grid of the planet Earth. Because the Earth was knocked off its axis, the grid lines shifted. So wherever the grid lines were at, they would have to build the power plants or the pyramids on top of the grid line and pull the energy out.
I remember that class, and that's said because people wondered why they left. He said they just left because the pyramids didn't serve.
Yeah, people said, why would you leave that
They didn't serve the pyramids didn't serve a purpose anymore because they weren't. The purpose was because they were on those
lead lines, the grid lines.
So when the Earth shifted,
they
no longer served the purpose as the transformers like that. So they left.
Well, we don't need it. They said, why would you leave that? That thing is magnificent. And just move somewhere else.
All right, that's a good question. Okay, this question is from a brother named Septep Min Ankh Atun.
Yeah.
He said, if there was more than one Anu, were all the Anus draconians or just one from just the one from 500,000 years ago?
You talk about repeat that one more time.
Okay, he said, if there was more than one Anu, were all the Anus draconians or just the one from 500,000 years ago?
The one from, as far as I know, the master teacher only said the one from 500,000 years ago. You also got to take in consideration that there were 9 Anus. Doesn't mean that they all were draconians. You know what I'm saying?
I think, I remember the mouse saying
that. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to remember, you have native Riskian, then you had Riskian refugees or beings that came or settled on Risk, and the generations that have been born on Risk, you know what I mean? But they were not native to that planet.
Also, I think Master was saying not all the 9 Anus were physical beings. Some weren't physical.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the Patriarchs they spoke of that.
Yeah.
The Anunnaki, I think it was called. The Anunnaki spoke of the 9 Anus.
Okay, I had to listen to that one again. Yeah.
All right. This next question is coming from a person named Shamari Alston.
Yeah.
He says, peace family, my name is Shamari. I have a question concerning the master teacher. He said, I have a lot of the 1990 scrolls, and in a book, Malachi puts his birth certificate, which is in Sudan. He said, with the seal of Sudan. He said, how come he says he's from Ghana?
See, what they don't understand is this. 1945, they didn't have the technology we have then. If you go somewhere and get a birth certificate, right, they log it in a computer now. Back then, everything was written on files. You can get 20 birth certificates as an infant if your parents keep moving from place to place and say, I'm gonna file for a birth certificate here and there. When the master teacher was born, he was born in Ghana and he was issued a passport there. Then he was taken back to Sudan and they issued him a passport, because you can find this written in a book called the Ansar Code Rebuttal to the Slanderers. This was years ago when they were saying that Dr. York was not from Sudan, and Pop actually presented a Sudanese passport. Then he had another passport that was given to him by Sheikh Dawood. You remember that? From the African Islamic mission. Then when he came at a certain age, when he came back to Boston, they issued him a passport in Massachusetts and they had him under the name York. Now they having a problem finding the passport or the information when they try to research, Dr. York's name, because when they came and locked our master teacher up, they put on the warrant Malachi York, and that's not his name. I mean, not Malachi York, Dwight York. And that's not his name, because everybody know on Pop's passport, on his original birth certificate in the United States, right? Name is just York, no first or last name.
Sure.
That should have been thrown out because you kidnapped the wrong person. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then Pop had his name legally changed from York to Malachi Z. York. And we all know that because we was there.
Yeah.
I remember this was like 1992 when I went upstate. The master teacher actually pulled out birth certificate from America and actually put it in my hand. I looked at it for myself. Then he put it in a book called Who Do People Claim I Be? It was a bulletin, a special bulletin that came out when Pop put his passport, I'm not his passport, I keep saying passport, his birth certificate in it.
Remember that.
And you can ask any African, if you know anybody that's old enough, how many birth certificates you got? They say, I got 4. This is before the dual citizenship thing came real big, where you can get, you know, people just say, oh, to get dual citizenship, I just get passport here, passport here, passport here.
Okay. The next question is from a person named Ant Thompson. He says, are the Hyksos and the Israelites the same people? And which book can I find the answer to the question in?
It's in a book called Is Jesus Found in Egypt? I think it's on page 376, if I'm not mistaken. But let me look it up real quick. I'll look it up and I get the page. But the Hyksos and the Israelites or the Sheshu are the same people. It's just that a lot of people don't understand is that the Israelites, the Hyksos, got defeated and embarrassed real bad when they came into Egypt by Sekenaway-Tao's offsprings, Akhmos and Kakmos, or General Akhmos and Kakmos. You know what I'm saying? Because there were 2 Akhmos. One was the son of Sekenaway-Tao, and the other one's a general. You know what I mean? And they waged war against the Hyksos because they murdered or assassinated Sekenaway-Tao because he didn't give them the secrets to how to build the temples. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And Apophis, who is very disrespectful, a lot of people don't understand when the Hyksos came in, they took over a particular city in Egypt, which is Thebes, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Uh-huh.
And what happened is Apophis didn't like Negroes. He didn't like us. So he was always trying to cause conflict there. So one of the things he did was he was complaining about the hippopotamus making too much noise. Now in Thebes, the hippopotamus is looked upon as a national
It's a
sacred animal in that country. But the hippopotamus was 500 miles from the Nile. And he's complaining about that they was keeping them up at nighttime, so he started slaughtering them. So that gave Sekenaway-Tao just means to start a war with the Hyksos, because they was killing their sacred animal. So they killed Sekenaway-Tao, and through his wife Ahotep had her sons wage wars against the Hyksos. This is why the fly was always represented as a token of military might in ancient Egypt, because the fly was represented for the warriors. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And what happened is these Hyksos ran across the desert back to their land. So when they got there, they said, you know what, we're going to create our own story. And they've rewritten history and saying we're going to call ourselves the Hebrews or the Hybridaru. And we're not thrown out of Egypt, and we didn't cause problems for 400 years. We were in bondage in Egypt, right? And then God told us to let my people go and come out of Egypt. But they're not telling you the real story. This is why you cannot find any records of a Israelite by the name Israel, Hebrew, written on the walls of them being in bondage in a place called Goshen, you hear me? Where they built the pyramids.
It's a fabrication.
Yes, exactly. This is why people say, oh, the Jews were slaves. So were the African Americans. But we don't get we don't get our own land like the Jews do we? They stay in Israel. We'll stay in Africa. We don't need to stay in Africa. We can go to Africa, but you won't let us go back to Africa. You can turn it into a third world country where you got our own people don't even like us. I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them.
Yeah, a lot of them, yeah.
Because they got them looking down and like we're a bunch of savages. And which is kind of true to a certain extent, because you've been here for 400 years. We've been here for 400 years, so we act like the Europeans.
True.
So when the Africans see, like, these guys are not practicing the way no more. These guys are Caucasians.
Niggers.
But then they want to come over here and become Caucasians too. Like, yo, y'all having fun. Y'all drinking liquor.
Smoking.
Y'all smoking. Y'all just like, y'all happy. I'm over here dying. You hear me? I'm working hard, carrying loads on my back. I need to go over there and get some of that piece of that American dream. But when they get over there, they're like, oh, y'all got suckered. I'm ready to go home. I need to make some money, get my money up and go back home. A lot of Africans be going back because they realize they got the seed. They're like, sucker man. Damn, these guys are sucker man. Seriously. I thought it's going to be, listen, I'm going to ask any African that first come over here. Ask them, what did you thought when you was going to get over here in America? They will literally tell you that they thought the roads were made of gold.
That's everybody, because that's everybody.
I thought the streets were made of gold.
Even the people in the Caribbean.
You got all the gold. You got all the gold here.
All right.
But hold on, let me go on. I was trying to find it's in Jesus Found in Egypt. Just give me a second. It's on page 376, if I'm not mistaken, where it talks about the Hyksos. I wanted to read that though, because that's a real powerful verse right there that Master Teacher broke down to us years ago. But a lot of people didn't see it because some people they was in the Hyksos worship stuff so bad. Let me turn it this way, make it easier. Yeah. What's the next question though?
All right. This is from the brother named Fasaji Bajourn. It's kind of long. He was giving some thanks and all that. He said, Hi to Wu-nuwaupu. I am Levi from Nubia.
He said Levi from Nubia.
Yeah, his name is Levi, and he's from Nubia in Africa.
Oh, Namibia.
Yeah.
Okay. Namibia or Namibia?
Namibia. I'm sorry, Namibia.
Okay.
He said, I would like to express my deep love for the Master Teacher and may the ancestors assist in his battle for freedom. And thank you to the brothers for your efforts in making Wu-nuwaup accessible online. He said, appreciate it, big thanks. And ethically, he said, I've accepted Wu-nuwaup to be the way and would like the good brothers to please explain, if you will, what are you seeing in Hollywood in their movies? Seems to me that Hollywood reads Baba's books. Also,
All right, stop right there. We repeat that question, but not right now. Let me just read this real quick, then we go back to that question, right? Right here on page 374, right?
This is a reference to...
The last question.
Okay.
For example, the seed of Israel was not all from the dark seed. There were also Tamahu Israelites who are the Hyksos, commonly known as the shepherd kings. The Egyptians called them Hikakasutu. How did these Hyksos become prominent in Egypt? These same foreign people worked their way up into the infrastructure of the Egyptians and took over, and to the point where they became rulers. When the Bible mentioned in Isaiah 19:2, the Egyptians fight against Egyptians, and I will set the Egyptians against Egyptians, they shall fight everyone against his brother and everyone against his neighbor, city against city and kingdom against kingdom, right? It is making reference to the Hyksos who now live in Egypt, fight against the original Egyptians of the inhabited Egypt. You hear me? Isaiah 19:4 mentions a cruel lord over the Egyptian. Is this speaking of a Hyksos ruler? Master Teacher said, yes. The cruel lord placed over the Egyptians were the same foreign people ruling over Egypt as found in Isaiah 19:4. And Egyptians I will give over into the hands of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, said the Lord. And the Lord of hosts, let me see. And it said, is this recorded in any Egyptian records? The name Israel or any of the tribe of Israel are not mentioned in any Egyptian history or records. In fact, the Hebrew name Jacob is only found as the name of the Hyksos ruler from the 15th and 16th dynasty, starting with Shisha.
Shishonk?
No, Shisha. Sheshi, Shisha.
Oh, okay.
Yaqub here, and Jacob here. And that there, Apophis the first, Apophis the second, Yaqubam, Jacob Am, as from Jacob from Genesis 25:21 to 26. Why were they fighting? This is what I was saying earlier. This is an excerpt from the Best Kept Secret book, right? The Hyksos rulers of Apophis became angry at rituals and worship by the central zodiac deity of the Dendera kind of called Tawat. Now we know Pt.1 is the hippopotamus deity, right?
Sure.
A hippopotamus deity who bellowed during the night, making him Apophis lose his sleep, which caused a war between the gods. Sekenaway Tau II was struck 3 times to be put to death by 3 of the original 15 members sent out by Apophis to acquire the secret word as given by the god Re to Isis to resurrect her husband Osiris. The conflict over losing sleep led to the war between the imposter Egyptians and the real Egyptians, headed by Kakmos, son of Sekenaway Tau II. The end result was the Hyksos were chased across the burning sands back up into Palestine in the land of Canaan.
Now, what book is that?
This is one of the rituals in Shrinerism.
That's what book?
Crossing the desert. And if you read a book called The Ratib, what the Master Teacher said, how they went into Sudan, Nubia, the original Egyptians, and got their bootleg version of the Mutassawa, which is the Sufi order, and created the shrine, because the shrine was never Masonic. It came out of a mystical order that came out of Sudan, out of the Nubians, but they made it, and then later on, the Masonic order said, we're going to bring this into Masonry as the Masonic playground. Yeah.
What was that book you were just reading out of again?
That was in a book called Jesus Found Egypt on page 374 to 376.
Oh, okay, all right. Now, back to the brother Levi. You said that we asked that question.
Let me finish. Hold on. Let me finish. Yeah, I'm going to finish reading it a little bit more, or y'all going to go to the question?
Go ahead.
Huh?
Go ahead.
Do y'all?
Go ahead, read.
Okay. On page 377, right? It says, Sumerian Babylonians got their story from the Egyptians. You heard that, right?
Sure.
And Hebrews got their story from the Babylonians. Also, the Freemasons derived their story from Harim Abib, or Abib, who cannot be found by that name in the Bible anywhere. However, we do find the name Hiram in 1 Kings 5:2, an architect and engineer working on Solomon's temple. This so-called temple and its artifacts have not been uncovered or discovered to date. However, there is a king of Hiram of Tyre, a Phoenician who is not the same person. And concerning the three assassins, the remain of the original 15 conspirators, according to Masonic legend, make note that the Hyksos were the 15th dynasty. 15 original conspirators in the 15th dynasty. This is no coincidence that the use of the number 15, nor the three remaining assassins found in the Bible, Jubilah, Jubilo, Jubilum, which is the Masonic combined and come up with the name Jewel or Jew-E from the word Jew originated from. These symbolic names, Jubilah, Jubilo, and Jubilum, were the three ruffians who are the biblical names. Three Jews are found in the Bible by the name Reuben, Simon, and Levi, the elder sons of Jacob, or the Jacobites, aka the Israelites. And these are no coincidence that these three Hyksos, kings, Jacob El, Jacob Har, and Jacob Ban, and the Jacobites are also called Israelites, were placed under their younger brother Joseph, who was called in Egypt language Zapnapatnea, found in Genesis 41:45, which means nourisher of life. So that y'all can, when y'all get that book, Jesus Found Egypt, y'all can read that and it goes even a little bit more into that too.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, now back to Levi from Lydia's question. He said, what is it? He said he would like the good brother to explain, if you will, what are we seeing in Hollywood in their movies. Seems to me that Hollywood reads Baba's books.
The master teacher. Let me go into that for a minute.
Let's set the record straight.
Prior, now watch this. A lot of us are movie, we like movies. Whether they're negative or bad, we like movies. Nothing we can do about it. We like to be entertained. Prior to 1971, Hollywood wasn't putting out no good movies, really. I mean, what they call good movies, like Ben-Hur, The Ten Commandments, what was the other, Midnight Cowboy, so on, Casablanca. We can go on and on. You know what I'm saying? After 1970, when the seals were open, all of a sudden we went into the blockbuster era of Star Wars, 2001, The Black Hole, Jaws, Dune, Terminator, Matrix, right? They didn't come with these concepts of these movies back then, right? Master Teacher been writing books for years, right? And what the sad part about it is that they sit here and accuse our beloved teacher of plagiarizing people's books, right? But I don't hear nobody saying, wow, Zacharias' teaching talked about it in this book, it's in the movie. Oh, Dr. Ben, they got your teachings in the movie. They always say, we saw that in Malachi's books first. Every time you watch a movie, The Matrix, that's Leviathan 666.
Sure. Terminator,
this is Mahdi. With John Connor, supposed to be the Mahdi. I mean, the whole storylines. Doom with the Mahdi. You know what I'm saying? His warriors.
Remember that movie?
You know what I'm saying? The Mahdi, even the Sacred Ash, Pop was talking about back then. Did they put a movie out, Doom, where they had the spice of life, and these beings were able to warp, time warp, or warp. You know what I'm saying? From one part of the universe to the other universe, from the worms had the spice of life in it. Everything the master teacher put in his books, you can find it in Hollywood. You never use no other book, only, you know what I'm saying? A lot of the movies have been getting a jump start from our doctrine. And if you sit there and say it's not, then you tripping. Master teacher and plagiarize that. Because master teacher been putting out for years. You ain't saying nothing about, well, how come they keep reading Doc's books? All your people that you saying Pop is plagiarizing, right? They making movies using Pop's doctrine. Why is they doing that then? Wouldn't it be easier for them to go to the source? Huh?
Then it'd have
That
to-
you said that Pop's supposed to be getting his doctrine from? People say that Pop get his information from Oxford Crawley. Then go to Oxford Crawley and get your information. Might have moved.
Which doesn't make sense.
Huh?
Which doesn't make sense because I read it by.
Yeah, no, we know that. But
There's
it's
nothing
like, I mean, you know, your Chucky Chucks and your Ricky Ricks and them, they all saying this stuff, right? And these guys were students and stuff, you hear me? But you still going to them for reference. So you never went to them saying, well, you know what, if York is getting your stuff from you, where are you getting your stuff from?
And they don't.
They don't do that.
But to me, they don't realize that they're making these Caucasians their gods by saying.
They are making them the God. Yeah, okay, so ask them where these guys getting their information from. Oh, we're getting it from off the walls. You hear me? But you didn't want a black man to go and take you to the wall. Let me take you to the pyramids, my son. That's what it means. How this deep? And then when something goes wrong, I don't like you no more, Pops. I'm gonna go to Stitching. You hear me? I'm gonna go to the Crawley. Oh yeah, you deep, Crawley. You hear me? They don't ask him where he get it from. I'm getting it off the walls.
Yeah, they never ask them where they get theirs from. They just accept it. But
No, that is sick.
yeah, it's something.
You
wrong.
won't let a black man take you to the wall, but you let the white man take you to the wall.
Without question.
And he don't even look like the niggas on the wall. You feel me? And with that, I'd like to pass the class over to my brother. Is it Hunan? Huntui, I don't know if it's Hunan. Huntui Senan Atunre.
Hatep, brothers and sisters.
Hatep.
Again, my name is Huntui Senan Atunreye, a student of the great master teacher, Dr. Malachi Kobina Zadok York, also known in this day and time as Panabab Yanun, the master of heaven and earth. If you have any questions, please feel free.
I want to ask the other question from the brother, Bijoy Vasaji, a.k.a. Levi from Namibia. He says, he wants to know, he said, these blood gods were overlords of the Kakasu. Are they here amongst us, or do they still have to return for their meat supply?
Well, that's one of the things that the master teacher explained. He said that they are really trying to get their overlords to come back because they left them, right? And he said they came back in the year 2003, which was for the gathering of the 144,000. You follow, which happened in Nome, Alaska, which the movie, the Fourth Kind was based on, right? And he came and gathered them, and they had a pact with them in order to satisfy these bloodthirsty, flesh-eating beings to gather 300,000 bodies per day. Wow. This is what these different wars that are started, that's what this is all about, for them to try to gather these beings for their overlords. And that's the interesting part that people have to realize, is that the gods, so to speak, or the God that they think they worship is not really who they think they is. It's really a flesh-eating, bloodthirsty being